Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. We're so happy that you're here. We are going to be talking about the dangers of the internet and this perfect storm that is kind of going on with everything on the internet and our kids. And hopefully, we're going to give you some tools to be able to help protect your kids. So we're not only going to give you the bad news, but we're going to give you some good news too. And we're going to inform you about everything out there. There's a lot of things you know about, but there may be some that you don't. So we're going to be sharing those with you today. My name is Wendy Sykes. I'm Director of Customer Support here at SaferNet. And I'm also an equity partner in the company with my husband. And we have 4 kids. So we understand what you're going through as parents, trying to protect your kids. I am super excited to introduce our expert guest today, Donna Hughes. I have had so much fun getting to know her, and I am amazed. She is a powerhouse. You're going to love her. She's the CEO and founder of Enough is Enough and Internet Safety 101. She's a social entrepreneur, an internet safety expert, Emmy-winning producer, author, and speaker who's been pioneering leader. She's been a leader in preventing the internet-enabled sexual exploitation of children since 1994. Her vision and advocacy helped to birth the internet safety movement in America. She's been a huge part of that. And since then, she's given thousands of media interviews as a featured expert on all major media outlets and networks. So we are thrilled to have her with us today. It's absolutely an honor. Thank you, Donna, for being here.
Thank you, Wendy. It's great to be here, and it's great to be with all the parents. We're so glad you're here because this is so important because all your kids are connected, right?
That's right.
Online. And so you're going to learn a lot, but you're going to be equipped and empowered. So we're happy to be here with you.
That's right. So Donna, talk about first, just a big 5,000-foot view of what you call this perfect storm. I love how you call it that, this perfect storm of what's going on right now.
That's right. When the internet is great. First of all, we love the internet. The internet's terrific. The internet is not the issue. The issue is the bad actors, the criminals, the evil people that are actually abusing the internet, exploiting it to harm others. And in this case, our kids, because this is a battle for the heart and the mind and the innocence of our children. And that's why I'm in this battle. That's why, Wendy, you're in this battle. And we're here to help you. But this perfect storm looks a little like this. Kids are all online. Most of them are online at a very early age, right? The pornographers are online. This content we're going to be talking about, it's very extreme, and they are actually targeting your kids. Sexual predators are online. They're targeting your kids. Traffickers are targeting your kids. Law enforcement is up to here. They cannot handle all the criminal enterprises that are operating online and putting your children at risk. And so that's what the perfect storm is. And parents are the first line of defense. And oftentimes we know that you may feel overwhelmed, ill-equipped, uninformed, and you just go, I just can't keep up with it all. It's just too much. There's so many apps. There's so many this, there's so many that. And how do I do it? So we're going to try to make it simple. But first, we've got to talk about some of the ways that these bad guys operate so that you can understand that when we get to the safety section, why we're stressing each point of what we believe you need to do to protect the children in your home.
That's right. That's right. Thank you for that. That's a great kind of 5,000-foot view of it. And it's crazy. The world is crazy right now. And okay, so let's start with the number one thing that parents usually are concerned about. It's usually kind of at the top of the list, pornography. Can you tell us, in your expertise, because I know you're an expert in this, how it influences our kids? How does it get to our kids? And just some information there from your expertise.
Right. Well, first of all, this is not the old softcore pornography of yesteryear. This content is extreme. It's violent. Oftentimes a woman is being raped or tortured. There's a tremendous amount of violence in this content, and it's very, very extreme. We call it hardcore material. It's illegal under our federal laws, but it's out there because our federal obscenity laws have not been aggressively enforced. That's a whole nother topic. Bottom line is right now, parents, you want to protect your kids from this content, it's up to you, and we're going to show you how to do that, right? So, but let me just talk about the harms. There is now peer-reviewed studies and medical science that shows that when a child is exposed to this content, and in particular, if they continue to use it, which is often the case because it's highly addictive, that it decreases their brain matter and it actually changes the biochemistry of their brain, which is why it's so addicting. We know that it sexualizes kids. We see that kids will often act out what they're seeing in this content.
Right.
And I can just go on and on and on. There's a lot of information on our website, but the bottom line is this is counterfeit to healthy sexuality. Everything that God teaches us, and you as a parent want to teach your kids about healthy sexuality, pornography, just think of it. It's counterfeit, it's the opposite, and it's violent, and it's depraved, and it's ugly. So we want to keep our kids safe from all of this. And Wendy, you know so much about this with SaferNet, how these papers are using banner ads and all this other stuff. Why don't you share a little of that? I think it's important.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah. So we have discovered that these porn companies are smart, and they have it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, everyone. And so they have the money. They have the money to get to your kids. We have found out that they pay the most per ad of any company out there. Pornography companies do. They are putting up false banner ads all over the place. So we have seen it actually happen where someone was actually on a homeschool online application, and there was a banner ad and homeschool. I mean, this is crazy. So there was a banner ad at the bottom, and it was for a free game. So they're lying. They're not even telling the truth of where kids are going. So there's a banner ad that was for a free game. The young man was bored, doing his homework. So he clicked on this banner ad for a free game, and it took him to, well, it would have taken, it was blocked because of the controls that his parents had on his device, but it would have taken him to a pornography site. So that's how they're getting to our kids. I mean, a lot of kids get to pornography, and I know you're going to talk about this, but for the first time, without even meaning to. And they're just trying to get them hooked. Their target audience, the pornography companies, is kids, 8 to 13, 8 to 11. They're trying to get them hooked early. So that's really scary. I also know that pornography companies pay big money for metadata and information about your child's online profile. So when they're online, they're playing this game, they're going here, they're on YouTube, they're watching videos that are appropriate for a fifth grader. So because of that, they have their kind of online footprint, and pornography companies pay big money to get the IP addresses of who they know are kids, and they're sending those banner ads and things to them. So there's a whole lot more there, but that's just a snippet that's
Right.
really scary.
Well, the bottom line is, parents, understand that your child's not immune. So you can have a good, smart kid that doesn't even like sex. Yeah. but understand the pornographers are targeting them. That's the case in point, that your child is not immune at all. All right.
That's right.
So let me just give you some data points. 50% of 11 to 13-year-olds, 65% of 14 and 15-year-olds, and 78% of 16 and 17-year-olds have been exposed to hardcore pornography. One more point. Kids under 10 years old, of those kids under 10 represent 22% of the online porn consumers, all right? So we're talking about young kids that they're going after. Now, let me just share some of the titles that these kids are looking at. We know this from a technology company that can see where they're going. Extreme, brutal gangbang, crying in pain, domestic assault. All right, so these are the things that are depicted in this content that the under 10-year-olds are being exposed to. So just imagine what's happening in their hearts and in their minds. Let me just say, Pornhub is one of the biggest pornographer in the world. They have this kind of content, but also child pornography, which we're going to talk about here. But their most watched video just this past year, with over 4 million views in 1 week, was a video of a teenage girl being brutally raped and electrocuted. And so adults are seeing this, kids can see this, and it fuels, let me just say this, we know from peer-reviewed science that pornography fuels all these other things like child sex abuse. It fuels trafficking. It fuels child pornography. It fuels predation. So this is something we're working at the federal level to get these laws enforcement. And in the meantime, parents, it's really up to you. So,
that's right.
Yeah.
Right. And I put up another statistic here that you showed, or that you talked to me about, and I wanted to make note of it, about the cyber tip line and what kind of material they're receiving. And that is just absolutely crazy. Do you want to talk about that real quick?
Just real briefly, child pornography, which we now call child sex abuse material, or CSAM, is completely different from pornography. This is when a child has been actually sexually abused or violated, and there's been a picture or video of that abuse. And this is where law enforcement efforts are really going right now. These kids are as young as babies and infants and toddlers in some instances. But just recently, as you can see, the cyber tip line had over 69 million files that were reported last year. And of those, 41 million were videos of children being sexually abused. So this content is illegal, but your kids also have access to this. We're going to talk a little bit more about kids even creating this content themselves when we get down to the sexting part of this. But I know this is a lot to take in, but we got to move really quickly here. We want to go to the predators section, right? And so just like pornographers are targeting your kids, so are the sexual predators. And within sexual predators are the traffickers. Traffickers and predators, they operate the same way. How do they get to your kids? Oh, they're so clever. They will use chat rooms. They'll use instant messaging. They're often targeting many, many kids at the same time. They will befriend them. We call this grooming, and build a trusted relationship with this child. And I see this happen in really, really good families. And every parent tells me, Wendy, I'm sure you hear this, I never thought this would happen to my child.
Right.
But they got sucked into this relationship. So a friend from school introduced them to this person, and they thought the guy was cute. Well, it didn't turn out that that's really what he looked like, because he was using a fake picture. And all of a sudden she thinks she's in love with this guy, and he's really 40. She thought it was 16. You know, I've heard everything in the book. So traffickers and predators are after your kids. They will also sexualize them. They will send them pornography oftentimes, not right off the bat. Sometimes they will, but oftentimes they'll send them pornography. And what they're trying to do is to get them into a sexual encounter, either online or offline. So they'll either try to have sexual relations and conversations and video back and forth with a young person online, and they're often, their end game goal is to get them offline. And then of course the traffickers' end game goal is then to sell them for sex.
Yeah, it's crazy. I heard a story at a conference that I was at. A young lady spoke, and she was kidnapped into sex trafficking, and she wasn't, it took her 1.5 or 2 years to escape. But the story she told and how they got to her is crazy. It was actually in her school, and they're even putting people in schools. I mean, it's crazy. And they're taking advantage of, they're blackmailing the boy to get the girl to do something, and then they get videos of her and they blackmail them both. And then before you know it, it's crazy. And they alienate them from their families, like you said. And they isolate them, and they tell them lies, and kids' minds are so easily shaped. And so, she got to the point where she hated her family and her parents, and she thought they were all crazy. And she grew up in a very strong faith-based home, very small town. And they got her to the point where she was ready to run away. And when she was ready to run away, they took her and sold her into sex trafficking. And it's horrible. So yes, these are things that are just, I know it's terrifying, but we're hoping to help prevent some of this. Yeah,
we're going to, but just understand again, your kids are not immune, and this is happening in your schools. Let me just give some factoids here. Children who became victims of sex trafficking in 2015, over half of them met their traffickers online. All right. So the internet is the tool primarily. In 2018, of all the human trafficking cases in the U.S., over half involved kids. So kids are being sexually sex trafficked here, right in the United States. So when you hear about sex trafficking, yes, are kids and women being trafficked from overseas? They are, because there's a big demand for trafficked victims.
Right.
One of the reasons is because of all the child pornography that's out there. These men are getting hooked on that, or are getting hooked on hardcore extreme pornography, like I talked about, and then they want to act out those fantasies on a real person, hence the demand for trafficked victims. All right, so let me just also say another thing. We talk about stranger danger with kids offline. It's so important. Your kids, once they've been playing a game with somebody or interacted with somebody on social media a few times, they're not going to consider them a stranger.
Right.
One of the tips I want to give you right now, since we're talking about strangers online, is teach your kids, if they don't know that person themselves in real life and that's a trusted person, they are a stranger.
That's right.
They may not be who they say they are. And so this is where the parents' teaching has got to come in. And parents, if you don't understand this, then it's hard for you to share that with your kids. So right. This is really important. And this is why having these online conversations, these ongoing conversations with them all the time is so important. But we know that 40% of kids in grades 4 through 8 have connected with a stranger online.
That is so scary.
Giving them personal information, even agreeing to meet with them, sending them texts and sex of them. So it's happening, and it's I would say it's at the level of a pandemic for sure.
Absolutely. You're so right. So let's move on and let's touch on social media just a little bit. We've kind of touched on it in stuff that we've been talking about, but just specifically, I know that you have some really important information regarding kids' mental health and everything else. Can we talk about social media a little bit?
Yes. Well, social media is the new hangout for kids. We know this, and parents, I've got 3 grandkids now. I can't even keep up with the apps that they're using. There's something all the time, right? We're going to talk about this in a little bit. But let me just say a factoid here. And you probably noticed this if your kids are old enough to be on social media. And really, if they're not at least 13, I don't recommend that they're using it at all. It is an area where child pornographers, traffickers, and predators and pornographers are living and reaching out and using those platforms to get to your kids. But what we do know is that the sexual exploitation of kids through social media has exploded during COVID-19.
Oh, yeah.
And so always remember, where kids are playing, predators are preying, P-R-E-Y, preying on your kids. So if you notice all the kids are flocking over to some new XYZ app, you better believe that the predators are going to be there tracking them and following them. All right. So social media can be great, but it's also a danger zone. So I recommend, don't let your kids on a social media app or social media unless you yourself have gone on there, checked it out, make sure the app's safe, use the tools that an app may have available to you to keep your kids safe and limit who they're chatting with and that kind of thing. But just really understand what they're doing here. And online gaming is quite a, it's the big thing with the boys. And this is just a sexual predator's dream come true, because they can play a game, befriend them as a gamer, and also talk to them and chat with them in real time. So I recommend on gaming, unless you have a very mature teen, don't let them play with anybody that you don't personally know. So this is how you control who they're talking to and who they're playing with. And the same thing on social media, email, everything, all of that applies.
That's right. You had some staggering, speaking of COVID, because you brought up, the pandemic that's going on in this world, and it's been very stressful emotionally, spiritually, physically for everyone. But you had some interesting information about increase in sexting and different things like that during COVID. Can you tell us about that?
Well, yeah, absolutely. That there was a report that came out in the United Kingdom recently that said that sext by children have risen 183% during COVID.
Wow.
We actually started a Teen Vogue campaign because Teen Vogue, the baby sister, quote unquote, of Vogue magazine, encouraged kids tweens and teens to keep their sex lives alive. And how to do that? By sending sex.
Wow.
Sex as a video or pictures sexually explicit of a child. When a kid does this, they're creating child pornography.
Right.
There's a lot of issues with that. That content can get out on the internet, may never be gotten back. It's a tool of the predator, can be used to shame the kid, to sextort the child. And also because they're creating child pornography, it's a felony. And so we just want to be aware. I mean, I hear it all the time of really young kids sending sex, and because there's a lot of peer pressure. It's kind of become, unfortunately, a rite of passage in some peer groups to do this, and oftentimes girls will give into it because of the pressure from the boy they like. So there's a lot going on with that. So sexting is a big problem right now, and in fact, law enforcement has told us that of all the child pornography that they're finding online, a large percentage of that is actually generated by kids themselves when they take and send nude and explicit images of themselves.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's a scary thing. And the last thing I think we were going to touch on there, and we'll just touch on it and we'll move on, but something that you shared with me that shocked me, that nearly 47% of young people have experienced cyberbullying. And of course, this is mostly through social media, but we see this as well. And with all the people we work with, I mean, you know, everything we've talked about is bad, but the cyberbullying, even if it doesn't include anything pornographic or anything else, this is really affecting the mental health of our kids. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So, and that's a scary thing for sure.
Yeah, we hear this a lot from educators and such. And the thing with cyberbullying, and this is so important for you homeschooling families out there, is that while your child's not on the playground and in the classroom at school, they can still be bullied through cyberbullying. And it's a 24/7 thing where they can't get away from it. So one of the telling signs of cyberbullying is if your kid doesn't want to use technology anymore, or they become very depressed or withdrawn. And that kind of thing. So pay attention to some of these warning signs. We've got a lot of information at internetsafety101.org to help you combat all these issues, right? Just from a practical standpoint, but we're going to get into now all the good stuff. This is, you've heard all the bad, but parents are the first line of defense, and there's no silver bullet. Let me just say, I wish that I could. For 27 years I've been doing this, that there's just this magic pill that you can take, this one technology that you can turn on, this one thing you can do, and it's going to take care of all the bad. There really isn't that one silver bullet. But Wendy, I met Wendy recently and SaferNet at a convention I was speaking at, and I don't normally, you know, we recommend all the tools that are out there. You know, we just say, parents, use parental control tools, use the tools that are available to you, use them on every single device that's out there. But when I learned about SaferNet, I went, wow, that's really close to that magic turnkey silver bullet. And you've got so much to offer parents. And I'm so excited for you to share that, Wendy.
Well, sure. Yeah. I'll just real quickly, and anyone can go to our website and check it out. But I just want to say I'm excited as well about our kind of teaming up. We have a common vision. We have a common goal. Donna and I are going to be doing a lot together to try and reach out to families much like yourselves, and all over the world. But I got to tell you, you know, SaferNet, it gives parents over 200 features that they can use to control the internet, to control apps, to control websites. It'll block those, you know, those fake ads that your kid clicks on, that it takes them to a porn site and it looked like it was just a game. That's just one thing that, you know, it can do. And, you know, we would be happy to work with anyone that wants to know more. And I know you're the same way, Donna. You know, any parent that's really wanting to protect their kid, that's why we're here. That's why we're in existence. That's why SaferNet is on the map. So we would love to talk to people more about that. Just feel free to hit up our website and we'll have some information at the end. But enough is enough. And Internet Safety 101, they do a lot of the legwork, families. So Donna works her tail off 24/7 year round, and she is on top of everything. She's on top of what's going on with the legislature. She is leading campaigns with our government, with our law enforcement. Right now, she has a campaign trying to, like she said, get Teen Vogue shut down because they're teaching our kids terrible things. She is amazing. So her and her organization, obviously. So if you can go to enoughisenough.org, as well as Internet Safety 101, they're kind of two different sites. Can you tell us a little bit to delineate the one from the other and why?
Yeah, it's actually enough.org. And in fact,
right.
You could just take out your smartphone right now and just go to enough.org. You'll see a little box pop up and you just sign up for our free newsletter. We're sending out information every single week. But let me just come back to what parents, what you need to know, because you've been drinking out of a fire hose since you've been listening to Wendy and I.
Right.
There are common sense things that are important for you. If you're going to let your kids use technology, I'm just going to run through a few things. One is be the trusted parent. Be that trusted adult that they come to when they come across pornography, because they most likely will. Even if you get all the tools in place, which we can talk about a little bit more, somebody is going to show it to them, some other kid who doesn't have the tools on there. So talk to them about their experiences. Make everything okay for them to bring to you, and don't ever panic and overreact, because you want your kids to be able to talk honestly with you about this. And so ask them questions. Who are you dealing with? Who are you talking to? Check out every type of app or social media platform that you agree to let them use, and go on those platforms with your kid. The same thing with a game. If your son is 12 and he wants to play Fortnite, go on Fortnite and see if you think that that's okay. Fortnite parental control tools on that actual. So, know what's available to you, and we will keep you informed. So there's just a lot of common sense things that you can do that the tools can't do for you, because we're here to help you be a good cyber parent. That's what Enough is Enough. We're dedicated to doing that, and it's hard. There's a lot to do. There's a lot of devices, and there's just overwhelming. And then SaferNet, they've got the technology tools so that when you turn these on, all that pornography and child pornography that we talked about, that can be filtered out, and it should be, because it should never get to your child to begin with. You'll learn how to monitor what your kids are doing, and so that those predators won't have that access to your kid, because you're using the technology as your friend. So you use technology as your ally. And SaferNet, like I said, they've just got all these features that make it really easy. Talk about how you deal with keeping kids safe on social media platforms, Wendy, at SaferNet.
Well, and yes, I'll touch on it because we just have a couple minutes left. So there's numerous ways. We can block social media completely. You can block Facebook and they can never get on it, or Snapchat or TikTok. TikTok's a big one. Or you can block the website. You can block the app. We can show you how to keep your kid from even being able to have that app on their phone. We have the ability to block the entire category of social networking. So it'll block it in the entire internet. So that would include anything, even, maybe things that you don't know that your kid is on. So there's a lot of tools there. And I'd love to give people a chance to let us educate them a little bit more on that. But just go to our website. The information, you'll see it scrolling down there for Enough is Enough. So they're enough.org, internetsafety101.org, and for SaferNet. Donna, I really want to thank you for your time today. The first half is terrifying, but the second half, there's a lot of resources out there to help parents. So there is hope, parents. There's hope for you. There's hope for your kids. And we just want to encourage you to not be a parent with their head in the sand. We want you to be a parent that's, out there and aware and fighting for your kids. So please take advantage of Donna's organizations and what they can do to help keep you informed and up to date to the minute as to what's going on. And feel free to reach out to us at SaferNet, and we'll help protect you technologically. And if you'll stay tuned, After we close, I'm going to throw up some slides here for everyone so that you can take a picture of the screen. It'll give you information for both Enough is Enough and for SaferNet so that you can find us wherever you need to, online or on social media. So thanks again, Donna. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Wendy. Great to be with you and everyone in the audience.
Absolutely. Appreciate your time. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.